Welcome back, Pokemon fans. Angel of the Night here. We are back again with the Grand Challenge 2025, and we are up against C-Rad. Now, C-Rad has a Primarina and a Sinistcha, and I'm going to lead off with my Zebstrika and my Amoonguss. Now, this is actually a pretty good matchup here for us right at the moment, because with our Zebstrika, we can go in for the Tera Grass, and that's going to be able to allow us to prevent being redirected with Rage Powder with Sinistcha. And of course, we've got the Supercell Slam, which should be super effective onto Primarina, unless they actually go for any kind of a Tera change. Now, most Primarina are just going to stay Water type. Very rarely do we actually see them go for a different typing. Amoonguss, of course, is a Grass Poison type. So right off the bat, I know that I can go for my Sludge Bomb, and I'm just going to direct that directly into the Sinistcha. That should be super effective. And the whole thing here is that we want to try to get Sinistcha out as soon as possible. I apologize, I cannot pronounce that Pokemon's name for the life of me. So if I refer to it as a little teacup Pokemon, you guys know what I'm talking about. So we go in for the Tera Grass here, and of course there's another Terrestrial on the opposing side. And it looks like the Primarina is also going to go for the Tera Grass. Now, this is actually something that I don't see very often with Primarina. I usually see them just going for like Tera Water, unless the rare occasion where they go for like Tera Steel. Now, of course, Primarina does survive that Supercell Slam because of the Grass typing. And then, of course, there is some damage coming out onto my Pokemon from the Primarina. Now, we do go for the Sludge Bomb here. That is actually an effective move onto the Sinistcha. And we do manage to pick up the Poison, which is pretty fantastic. Now, I couldn't have predicted a Trick Room from the Sinistcha. That's something that I wouldn't have even thought of considering Primarina is around. But we do still have Zebstrika out here. We're going to go for the Flame Charge because obviously there's a Grass-type Pokemon on the opposing side. And of course, all Pokemon on the field are Grass types now, so Rage Powder is not going to be a thing. I kind of doubled up on the Primarina here, going with the Sludge Bomb and the Flame Charge. Realistically, I should have probably aimed it more towards the Sinistcha. But this is basically going to allow the Sinistcha to set up the Life Dew, and that is basically going to heal up their side. Now, honestly, this competition has been one of the most difficult competitions here to date. Everybody's running wild with their own kind of strategies and movesets there with Regulation H, and you're seeing a lot of different things coming out of the woodwork than what you would normally see. So it's definitely unique. You're not really going to see a lot of the same things twice, unless you see like the big three combo, like the Dondozo, Tastugiri, and you know, the size spam stuff and all that. But anyways, getting back to the battle here, we actually get a Sludge Bomb off onto the Primarina, which is awesome, getting some damage there. But unfortunately, we do lose our Zebstrika to the Primarina. Now, Zebstrika has been proven to be a pretty effective Pokemon there for me throughout this competition and other battles as well. If you guys have come out to any of my streams, you guys know that I pretty much rely on Zebstrika and Tauros on this team. Pretty much every other Pokemon's been like a wild card. But, okay, so most of the Pokemon on the opposing side, they are losing some health due to poison. We still have our Amoonguss here onto the field, which is pretty fantastic. Right now, I'm kind of debating on if I'm going to bring Tauros or if I'm going to bring Misdreavus. Now, as you guys know, my Misdreavus is an Evolite set. I've maxed it in special defense and defensive stats, which actually boost it way up farther than if I were to use Misdreavus. The special attack is still pretty much on par with like a base Misdreavus, so not Misdreavus, Mismagius. So I just kind of figured that Misdreavus is probably the best play. Plus, as well, with the massive amount of stats in defense and special defense, I should be able to resist and live a lot of attacks here. So it's kind of more of like a support Pokemon, just kind of getting some chip damage. But it kind of makes people think, well, what is the play with Misdreavus? And most people usually aim in towards that. So Primarina ends up going in for the Protect here. Amoonguss going for the Sludge Bomb. As you can see, not going to be able to do anything there due to the Protect. And then, of course, then we've got the Machagacha coming in from the Sinistcha. That's actually going to hit both of my Pokemon, taking a little bit of health away and regaining some health back onto the Sinistcha. Now, the Misdreavus, of course, there's a couple of options that I could have gone with. But pretty much at this point, I think the main factor here to go for is go right in for the Shadow Ball. Super effective onto the Sinistra. And luckily for us, we actually lower the special defensive stats of Sinistra. Now, it does have a berry, which is actually not surprising whatsoever. It does have a citrus berry, so it's actually going to raise up the health of Sinistra. Both Pokemon, of course, are still poisoned, and they're actually going to lose their HP from the poison here. So now we've got the idea. We can either go back in for another Shadow Ball, which should technically be able to take out Sinistra, and then, of course, we're also going to choose to go for the Sludge Bomb into the Primarina. This should be enough to do some decent damage to Primarina, but I'm actually really expecting to see the Sinistra be knocked out here. The opponent seems to take a little bit of time there to decide their moves. I'm assuming it's because of the Misdreavus. Because, I mean, most people are going to be like, okay, well, Amoonguss can't do anything here because of the whole grass Teras and stuff, so... C-Rad actually calls back Primarina and ends up bringing in Excadrill. Now, Excadrill, outside of Sand, not really the biggest threat that you're going to see in, like, Regulation H. If it does have Sand, you know, you guys got to really watch out because that thing's just going to rip right through your team. Most people aren't running, like, Earthquakes with it just because it's usually paired up with other Pokemon that are not capable of avoiding the hits. So here we go with the Shadow Ball. That should be able to knock out Sinistra, and luckily for us, it actually does. Didn't have to worry about any kind of a crit, didn't have to worry about any kind of a poison drop. It actually works out quite well. The Twisted Dimensions have returned to normal, so that means that slower Pokemon are no longer faster, and faster Pokemon are no longer slower. And then here is the big issue here, Tyranitar coming in, setting up the Sandstream. As you guys know, Excadrill and Sand is bad news bears, dating all the way back to Generation 5. So... At this time, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, this is not good. This is one of the big bads. There's really 3 big bads here under this. Like I said, Tyranitar, Excadrill, Armarouge, and Indeedee. And then, of course, there's also the Dondozo and Tastugiri. Yeah, I said it. Those 6 Pokemon are usually pretty bad. We go for the Dazzling Gleam here, not really going to be able to do much onto the opposing side. Here comes the knockoff onto the Amoonguss. That's actually going to knock off... Oh, actually, you know what? I've already used my Citrus Berry here, so it actually doesn't knock anything off, but it does end up flinching me for some reason. Maybe they have like a King's Rock or something over there that might improve on flinching. Who knows? Okay, Misdreavus, pretty much the only option that I have to go for here is like another Dazzling Gleam. Here's the Iron Head coming in from the Excadrill, being able to attack first, of course. Misdreavus goes down. And another knockoff coming in from the Tyranitar to pick up the KO onto the Amoonguss. Okay, next Pokemon coming in. Our last and final Pokemon is Tauros. Now, of course, Tauros does not have any kind of like an Earthquake here, so I can't hit 2 Pokemon at once with that. I do have Rock Slide, and pretty much the only option would be to try to maybe flinch them. I do have Raging Bull, and of course Raging Bull should be effective onto the Excadrill. And I, of course, also have Close Combat, which is like a higher stab attack move. So they're going to withdraw the Excadrill here, probably expecting me to do some damage with the Tauros. Going to go into that whole Primarina situation. That way it's going to be able to resist the close combat a little bit more, but we do end up picking up the KO off on that as well, just due to the health. Pretty awesome that we were able to get that thing knocked out because, I mean, that's been kind of a little bit of a problem Pokemon the entire time. So that just leaves the Excadrill and Tyranitar. Now that kind of leads me to believe, because there was a swap there, that maybe it was a banded Excadrill. Probably a choice band, if I'm not mistaken, just to be able to get like more of a boosted attack stat. And of course, we are losing a little bit of health there due to the Sandstorm at the same time. Excadrill coming back in, looking like a complete boss under that sand. It's like, dude, I've got this. Don't worry, that Tauros is going to go down. My Tauros is like, oh man, here's the high horsepower, and that's just going to be able to pick up the KO. So, GG. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these battles. Hopefully we will get a win soon, but don't worry guys, there's plenty more battles to come. Take care, have a good one, and peace out.